Welcome back. On today's episode, we're sharing how leaders in Kentucky's largest city are trying to address a $65 million budget shortfall. Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher is asking the Metro Council to approve a tax rate increase, which he says is the best option for the city, which faces a $65 million budget gap over the next 4 years. Some on the Metro Council have a different opinion on how to solve the issue. Here's a portion of what some of those council members had to say. Plus, after that, you'll hear more of my conversation with Mayor Fisher.
And so we've been keeping tally of the contact we get from individuals who call into our office. And so we're at about 85% of individuals saying that they are against the tax hike. And overwhelmingly, the private citizens say that they do not want the tax hike. The individuals who say that they typically want the tax hike are from government agencies or nonprofits who are doing awesome and amazing work, but who have a vested interest in certain city funds.
Every bit of feedback I'm getting is consistent, and it's saying we're taxed enough already. We're not seeing the services that the mayor keeps bragging about seeing, and we just don't think it's necessary for you to raise our taxes. Now, of course, the mayor did everything he could to make sure that every nonprofit organization in town who receives money was alerted to the fact that he's going to take their money away. He blamed it on us, of course, but the reality is no one on this side of the street has threatened to cut any funding to external agencies. No one on this side of the street has threatened to cut any money to community services. All of those threats are coming from the mayor. But as he projects those threats out there, he tells them it's us, it's the Metro Council. The Metro Council wants to do this to you. And that's not true. We want the mayor to make some different choices in terms of priorities. We want him to tighten his belt.
Now, obviously, you've been crunching these numbers with your team. Metro Council, obviously, they are working to try to find solutions as well, but not everyone is on board with what you're proposing. So what words do you have for those members of the Metro Council to come together to kind of tackle this issue and but also support what you're trying to present?
We've put out a proposal, and then there's 5 council co-sponsors on it as well, that I think is in the best interest of the city to keep our momentum going. All the time in Louisville, people will say, look, we want to be more like this city or more like that city. And I remind them that these cities are investing hundreds of millions of dollars more in their cities in things like paving, streetscapes, parks, these type of quality of life amenities that are really important to cities as we compete and grow for jobs in the 21st century. So first, we got to set the stage on that. Second is we compete against 19 peer cities from Nashville, St. Louis, Indianapolis, what have you. Of those 19 cities, we're number 4 in terms of lowest ratio of city employees to population. In other words, we're really competitive already and lean as a government. We've been cutting and restructuring for 8 years right now, so there's not a lot of waste and bloat out there. The next question I ask and remind folks of, do third parties say we're running a good, lean, financially responsible shop? So we're in the top quartile of all municipalities with our bond rating agencies, which means we get low interest cost on bonds out there. So we're running a lean shop. It's externally validated. Now we got to say, what kind of city do we want to be? So for the council, it's like I've put forth what I think is best to keep our momentum as a city going, and just encourage them, if you have some other ideas, please submit those back to us. So it's easy to say you're against taxes. I get that. It's not so easy when you say, you know, it's important to my grandchild that the library is open. It's important that the ambulance shows up in an allotted amount of time, or a firefighter shows up. So that's what's been difficult for people, is to give the specifics on what cuts they can believe take place without impacting services or them personally. When you talk to folks at the individual level, they're like, we can't make these cuts. You know, so I said, well, then we got to keep investing in our city. So I'm just encouraging the council and others to please come up with ideas that we can take a look at to see how we work our way out of this box.
Has this been a difficult process for you as the city, the mayor of Louisville, to have to make these tough decisions that affects, you know, your entire city? Has it been tough to have to go through and figure out the services that you can do the least without potentially, or cutting back on? Has this been a tough process?
Well, it comes with the position, so there's no complaint with that. But what's tough about it is when you think about the impact on people. So I just came from the Newburgh Community Center and the Southwest Community Center before that. These centers service our kids. They're keeping them busy, keeping them off the streets. They service our seniors that are on a fixed income, which I'm very concerned about. In many cases, it's a lifeline to them. And when I think about the possibility of cuts to these places, you know, that bothers me. When I think about having to close a fire station and think about what could happen with that, that bothers me. When I think about reducing our Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods Office and Police Department and the potential impact off of that, off of all the good work that we've done, that bothers me. So, you know, that's just part of it, and that's why we've got to have a big family meeting, if you will, with our city and see which is the way forward. And that's why I'm just saying we've got good momentum. Look at this as an investment in your city.
We'll have more of my conversation with Mayor Greg Fisher after a check of your Weather on the Ones forecast. We'll be right back.